Welcome back to the grand circus of Indian street dining, where culinary ambition meets apocalyptic chemistry. Today's vendor doesn't serve food. He conjures an alchemic brew straight out of a medieval dungeon, mixing equal parts despair, radiation, and bad life choices. Front and center, the star ingredient, a brown sphere with the exact color and charm of freshly excreted misfortune. He places it, slams it, onto a table so rusted and sinister, it looks like it was loaned directly from the props department of Saw 3. You can almost hear Jigsaw whispering, "Do you want to taste a game?" To liven things up, he adds two neat shots of what at first glance might pass for orange juice. Sadly, the viscosity gives it away. This isn't juice, it's tractor coolant siphoned from a Massey Ferguson on its last legs. Watching it ooze into the cup is less refreshing citrus and more hazardous waste spill. And then the final flourish, a splash of nail polish. Not subtle, not tasteful. No, this is the screaming neon shade chosen by a bargain basement courtesan on her fifth cigarette break. He drizzles it in as though granting the concoction a touch of glamour, but the effect is closer to a biohazard barrel with lipstick on it. The result? A beverage that belongs less in a menu and more in a war crimes tribunal. One sip is enough to guarantee an out-of-body experience, most likely because your soul has abandoned your body in protest. Welcome, brave souls, to a culinary nightmare dressed as street food. Behold, a towering mountain of dark brown stew so magnificently grotesque it could be mistaken for freshly delivered sewage. Around it sit glowing orange orbs, looking less like fruit and more like radioactive souvenirs from Chernobyl. The ritual begins. One of these mutant oranges is plucked from the pile and plunged deep into the swampy sludge. For extra punishment, a handful of chilies are grated over the top, because nothing hides the taste of methane better than setting your tongue on fire. Then comes the big reveal. The orange splits open, not citrus at all, but an egg masquerading as fruit, a cosmic prank, a yolk in disguise. To finish, another generous scoop of the brown abyss is dumped on top, sealing the dish like a final insult. And there you have it. Dinner, despair, and diarrhea, all in one unforgettable serving. And now, brave souls, dessert. A natural delicacy so questionable it could double as municipal landscaping. Yes, the kind of bizarre fruit you only see dangling from those trees in Central Park. The ones our parents warned us were toxic, just so we wouldn't touch them. Here, though, they don't just touch them, they glorify them. The chef takes this mutant orb, cracks it open like it's the prize from a cursed piñata, and with surgical confidence dips it straight into a pile of mysterious white powder. No, not sugar, baking soda, because nothing says sweet treat like coating your mouth in the same stuff you use to scrub toilets. The result? A dessert that looks less like something you'd eat and more like a dare your drunk cousin would make at a family barbecue. Bon appétit, ladies and gentlemen, nature's warning label, served a la mode. Gather round, fearless gourmets, for today's spectacle features a man armed with nothing but a ladle and a cauldron full of radioactive soup. The liquid? A shimmering shade of green usually reserved for comic book toxic waste, or the ooze that gave birth to mutant turtles. With solemn devotion, he stirs the cauldron as if conjuring a spell, each swirl releasing aromas that probably double as paint thinner. The broth bubbles, gurgles, and whispers promises of food poisoning with a side of regret. Is it soup? Is it swamp water? Nobody knows. But one thing's certain, when your dinner glows like a nuclear reactor, you're not eating a meal. You're signing up for a superpower origin story. Welcome to the toilet buffet, where haute cuisine takes a swan dive into the sewer. The signature dish? A bubbling stew presented in a sparkling white toilet bowl, because nothing stimulates the appetite quite like ladling dinner from the same vessel that usually handles yesterday's mistakes. Michelin chefs use copper pots. This visionary uses plumbing fixtures. Truly groundbreaking. Step aside, Gordon Ramsay. Make way for the true street king of cuisine, the man who decided that stoves are overrated and that the finest grill in the world is an open manhole cover. Yes, nothing says bon appétit like frying burgers and eggs directly above the city's digestive system. The aroma, a delightful blend of beef, smog, and last week's sewage steam. The pièce de résistance, of course, is the oil. Not just any oil, this is ancestral oil, a thick, tar-like brew foaming orange and black, bubbling with the menace of Chernobyl's cooling pools. Legend has it the same oil was first poured when Indira Gandhi was still in office, and has since been topped up only by the tears of tourists and the runoff from nearby scooter engines. Locals whisper it has seasoned so many patties that it now qualifies as a UNESCO World Heritage Marinade. Every bite of these sewer burgers is a gamble. Will it be juicy beef, crunchy egg, or just a mouthful of tetanus with notes of diesel? Either way, it's an experience no Michelin restaurant dares to offer. Death served hot, straight from the drain. Ah yes, the latest gem of India's street cuisine. A stall that looks less like a kitchen and more like a scene straight out of a prison documentary. The chef, a man who clearly sharpened his culinary skills somewhere between solitary confinement and mandatory group therapy, handles only one tool, a knife. Not for chopping, not for dicing, but for ritualistically stabbing his ingredients as if each one personally wronged him in another life. First victim, a tuber of uncertain ancestry, glowing faintly as though it had bathed too long in the Ganges, mutating generation after generation until it achieved its current state, radioactive chic. He stabs it repeatedly, then casually sprinkles on something that can only be described as seasoning known only to God and perhaps the local coroner. Next up, the red orb of mystery. Spoiler alert, it's a boiled egg. Judging by its hue, it wasn't boiled in water, but rather simmered gently in the core pool of the local nuclear power plant. With the dignity of a hangman, he slices it open, releasing a sulfurous bouquet that could strip paint from a wall. To balance the dish, if such a word can even be used, he tosses in a powder that any rational observer would identify as caustic soda. It's unclear whether this is intended to reduce acidity or simply to ensure Darwinism takes its course. And then, because murder is a habit hard to break, he finishes by mutilating a chili so infernal it could double as a medieval torture device. This final touch ensures that your digestive system will be filing a restraining order for weeks. Ah yes, a culinary adventure that truly grabs life by the, let's say, boldest ingredients. This bubbling cauldron of delight, proudly simmering on the streets of India, is nothing short of gastronomic erotica for the truly daring. Forget oysters or chocolate. This stew takes the concept of aphrodisiacs and ties it in a tight, unrelenting knot. Visually, it's a feast of suggestive shapes and textures. The swollen, bulbous morsels float serenely in a viscous broth, glistening with an almost obscene sheen. One might say it evokes primal instincts, though whether they lean toward hunger or flight is up for debate. And then there's the aroma, a complex, heady cocktail of musk and mystery, mingled with a distinct tang reminiscent of forgotten gym socks and the sweaty aftermath of poorly ventilated teenage escapades. It's bold, unapologetic, and uncomfortably intimate, like walking into a room moments after a couple has finished their business. Each bite is a tactile odyssey, as the stew's fleshy chunks resist and then yield in ways that are almost too suggestive. The chewy elasticity might remind one of latex, while the softer bites, let's just say they evoke memories you'd rather not unpack during dinner. This is more than food, it's an unfiltered confrontation with life, love, and anatomy. A dish that dares you to chew thoughtfully, swallow bravely, and reflect on what exactly you're doing with your life. Oh wait, no French here. Just enjoy, if you can,